everyone, it's Barbara C. Phillips, nurse practitioner and founder of Nurse Practitioner Business Owner, and I'm here with another business question of the week. And this week we're going to talk about how do I fund my practice? This is a question that we get often. And so there's several different ways that people start asking us about how is it to start their practice. We get questions like, can I find sponsors and or funding to start my practice? Where do I get the money? Can I get grants? Are there other sources of funding in order to start my practice? But we need to take a step back because sometimes we get so anxious and so excited about starting our practice that we sometimes put the cart before the horse. So we really need to take a step back and answer some really basic questions like, what kind of a practice are you planning on starting? And have you looked at the feasibility? Is this something that is going to be financially feasible? Is it feasible in terms of the need in the community? What is it that you're actually doing, and what kind of projections have you been able to come up with? So those financial projections, what is your income going to be? What is your overhead going to be? And how much do you actually need? So all of this, of course, goes into a formal business plan, which is the one thing you are definitely going to need when you start approaching some of the traditional and even non-traditional forms of funding that are out there. So traditional funding includes bank loans, and we're all very familiar with that. That's the first thing that we think about. But we also need to think about credit unions. Now, before I go on, let me stop here for a second because a lot of people say, well, I want a small business loan. Well, the thing is that the Small Business Administration does not actually loan out money. You can apply, and if they find you credit worthy, they will guarantee your loan to whatever the lending institution is. And that might be a bank and it might be a credit union. It certainly helps your chances of getting a loan because if somebody's going to guarantee the loan so that if you default, they're paying for it, then certainly that does make you more attractive to the bank. What about second mortgages? Well, a lot of people do actually do this. I would give you a caution, though. Make sure that you have a really solid business idea, a solid business plan, that you have some plans in place to make sure that that money is paid back. If your business fails, and to be totally honest, most businesses actually do fail, not just practices, but businesses in general. You can look that up at the Small Business Administration. You don't want to lose your house if your business fails. So, consider this, but also make sure that you are in a good position to make sure that that loan gets repaid. You can borrow from friends and family. A lot of people do this. Now, if you're going to be borrowing from your friends and family, what I would recommend is that you find out how you can make this actually a legal transaction going through a bank or a credit union. And there's a lot of information on the web about that. And then, of course, what about credit cards? A lot of people, particularly when you're starting a small practice, like a model of, say, an ideal medical practice or even a mobile practice, sometimes you can get by using a credit card. I would recommend a couple of different things. One, make sure it is a low interest credit card. None of this 24% stuff that's out there. So that's number one. Number two, again, make sure you have a plan to aggressively pay this off and do so as quickly as possible. Otherwise, credit cards can get a lot of people into a lot of trouble. But, sometimes, particularly if you've got one of those old credit cards hanging around that maybe has just a 4% interest rate, you may not find that on any other loan. And so that might be worth it. So check it out and see what's in your closet or in your pocket, excuse me. So what about other things like the grants and sponsors? Well, with grants, for the most of the time, you will find, like if you look at grants.gov, you'll find that they're looking for 501c3s. Different organizations may want you to be a 501c3 if they're going to grant money to your startup or to your business. So they'll want you to be a nonprofit. Now, that's not necessarily true in all cases, but it is in a lot of them. Where you might have a little better luck if you're not going to be a nonprofit is perhaps community business development grants. So make sure that you're looking in your state, your county, your city, your chamber of commerce. See what may be available in terms of grants to develop business in your community. Now, I don't know if you've heard about social lending and micro lending or not, and I've written about them before. I can't go into a whole lot of detail right now, and I would suggest you Google those terms. But basically what it is I am going to put money toward something and earn some interest back. And there's a lot of different ways that can do this. If you look at Kiva, KIVA.org, you'll see that they do a lot of entrepreneurial lending, mostly outside of the United States, but you'll find these kinds of organizations also here in the United States as well. So look at those terms. Something I don't have on here that I just want to address for a moment is, what about sites such as Kickstarter or GoFundMe or any of these kinds of social funding sites that are out there? Well, I have seen a couple of practices attempt to raise funding to start a practice, but I haven't seen it be successful. I think with those kinds of things, if it is something that's going to have like maybe a community program, for instance, that might be one of those sponsored care clinics. Remember, there's no such thing as free clinics. So sponsored care clinic. And in that case, you may get a little more interest in getting people to fund it. But I haven't seen that be really successful. But it's worth a try. You can always put it out there. So investors. Well, when you are looking at getting an investor is going to look at you, and one of the things that they want to do is see, what is it you need? What is your idea? Really understand it. And then they want to know what is in it for them. Because, of course, when they're investing money with you, they expect a return on their investment. And oftentimes when you have somebody who's an investor, they also own a part of your business. I mean, look at the stock market. That's exactly the same type of thing. So hopefully that answers those questions. Now, the last thing, sponsors. Again, sponsors, they'll also want to know what is in it for them in many cases, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. And you may have to also look around for that. I don't know of anybody who's actually standing around saying, I want to sponsor. You'll certainly find more investors, particularly if you have a very innovative idea, because a lot of people are getting into the business of healthcare because it's big and it's growing. And the more outside the box type things that we can do, the better. So hopefully that helps answers some of your questions. Now, like I said, I've written on this topic before, and here's a couple of links to blog articles, and I'll put those below the video here so that you can find those articles easily. So if you have questions about this topic or any other topic, you can certainly submit them over at bit.ly/NPQuest. That's our Google form document. You can also send us an email at npbohelp@gmail.com. Like I said a little bit earlier, I really encourage you to visit our blog, npbusiness.org. We've been publishing this for over 10 years now. And it is NP Business, but you know what? It's applicable to all advanced practice clinicians. So regardless if you're a midwife, a CRNA, a CNS, a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, this is appropriate for all of us. And then, of course, when you're looking for courses and further professional development or help, visit us at clinicianbusinessinstitute.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, like this video, share this video, and subscribe to our channel. And I will see you next time for another business question of the week. So bye-bye now.